and is the owner and operator of Atomic, and he knows the cut inside and out and how to get it to do what it needs to do when it's 4 or 5 inches long, and get it to stand up and straight out. And he's a character unto himself. He's into rat rod building and racing and that whole scene, rockabilly down there. So I was really lucky to hook up with him, and he's a big fan and supports the show. So he helps with the look in a big way.
Where have you shot your show, and where do you shoot it now?
Well, Monster Creature Feature is a limited budget, let's just say, in terms of production value, what we're allowed to put into it. But we started out, believe it or not, in my garage, and we built sets in there and started shooting in there. And then eventually we're able to move into a building in downtown Raleigh in the basement or cellar of one of the local fixtures called Father and Son Antiques, or Swankorama as they're known online. And they're pretty popular throughout the country, dealing in vintage, swanky 50s, 40s, 60s furniture. They're not necessarily an antiques dealer, but they deal in some very cool, one-of-a-kind items that you wouldn't find anywhere else. Well, we're part of their family now, where we have our sets in their basement, and they carry our merchandise, and we kind of try and build a synergy where we promote them and they kind of promote us. And they now have monsters in their basement, is what they kind of bill it as. So we're hooked up with Father and Son and Swankorama, and it's pretty cool.
Are there any other people involved in the production of your show, Monster Creature Feature?
Well, some of the other people that I work with on the show, because it's not a one-man effort, is actually we have a number of people that help me out, very talented individuals at that. First off is kind of my writing partner and partner in crime, Ken McGuire, who's a local Detroiter, and we actually went to high school together, grew up together, and have a lot of the same tastes in terms of comedy. We both really love The Young Ones and a lot of that British off-the-wall stuff, and we really wanted to incorporate some of that and the Saturday morning feel of Sid and Marty Krofft and H.R. Puffin stuff, and some of the really far-out stuff into Ormond Grimsby and the story elements. And so Ken and I write a lot of the bits together and work together for the first few years of the show, as we've been doing it for over 4 years now. And he helped me out a lot, and we have a lot of fun together with that. And then we also have a writing duo, Clay and Susan Griffith, who write for the show, and they are comic book writers out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and they've written for The Tick and Kolchak and Ray Harryhausen adaptations, and they have their first novel coming out in fall of next year. So we're really lucky to work with some cool professionals who love the show, have approached me in Susan and Clay's case. They approached me and said, "We like the show, we'd like to work with you on it." I was like, "That's fantastic." So those are the people that really contribute the most in terms of writing. And then I've got some behind the scene guys, Stacy Peterson, who's a producer over at NBC 17, and Mark Murphy, who is a drummer with Killer Filler and the Straight Eights, and they have really come to the table with a lot of cool music, and they really love the show. And Stacy was one of the guys who helped get the show on NBC 17 at Halloween. So it's really cool. We've got a lot of people who come in and float and fill in certain gaps. But you know, whenever there's a hole, it always seems like there's somebody who kind of comes in and is able to donate time.
Monster Creature Feature has a wonderful website.
Thank you very much. We do have a cool website, I think, at www.mcftv.com, and you know, it's where you can go if you can't see the show locally. We have streaming episodes, and you can come on and watch episodes either indexed through our episode guide, and then on the very front page we have streaming episodes of pretty much what we've done latest. And it's just a porthole to various parts of the country, you know, that aren't exposed to this kind of stuff. And we really do get a lot of traffic and a lot of exposure because of the website, almost more there than locally, which is kind of fun. We're really big in Germany. Let's just leave it at that. Actually, MySpace, when we first started MySpace 2-3 years ago, it was pretty much divided into 3 parts. We'd get people wanting to be friends from Raleigh, people from all over the United States, and then a ton of people from Germany. So I guess Germany love their horror hosts. I don't know.
Do you recall anything spooky ever happening to you?
Let's see, really spooky. You know, I have met so many people behind the scenes in terms of magicians, illusionists, who kind of expose so many of the tricks of the trade to me that it's kind of difficult to believe in real spooks, which is why it's so important to make the cool imaginary ones visible for everyone and have fun with, because I'm not sure the real ones are out there, but it's great to play with, you know, the Wolfman and Frankenstein's monster and try and bring those guys back.
What horror movies of today do you enjoy?
Let's see. You know, there's so many great horror movies. There's so many great movies, and there's so many bad movies, but the horror movies don't have to be good to enjoy them. But some of my favorites are, of course, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. That's always a staple. And then, you know, there's the staples in the 80s that I think are classics. You know, American Werewolf in London, The Shining, The Exorcist back in the 70s is always a great film. Let's see, Trick or Treat just came out this year. That was kind of fun. But I like more of the vintage stuff. Definitely the black and white stuff, the Hammer stuff, the Amicus anthology films. I love the anthology films. I wish they'd bring more of that back, which was kind of what recently Trick or Treat was trying to be. But Hammer, Amicus, Universal Classics, all of those things I grew up with. You know, I'm getting old, long in the tooth, so it's hard to kind of look at the new stuff and say, that's a classic. That's up for the next generation to decide, I think.
What other horror hosts out there do you admire?
Well, you know, today there's a big resurgence in horror hosts, which is great to see because, you know, people who grew up with them are really trying to bring that back for the next generation or the current generation that didn't grow up with them. And some of the cool ones out there, of course, Clyde Brown. But around the country, it's Mr. Lobo out in San Francisco. There's Penny Dreadful in, of course, Salem, Massachusetts. I mean, how cooler can you get than that? And New York, you've got Gula Gogo with, I love those guys because they've got that whole 60s feel down cold. You've got, let's see, Dr. Drek and let's see, Miss Monster out in California. You know, she's kind of doing the Elvira thing. But there's a lot of them around the country that are really doing cool stuff. And I love the ones that try and do the whole classic monster, you know, feel to them.
Thank you, Craig Vance, for being on Spooky Talk.
No, thank you, Clyde, for having me on the show on Spooky Talk. It's been a real pleasure. I love Detroit. I love your show. I love coming up here to do it. Ormond Grimsby would thank you if he were here, but of course he's down in Raleigh, North Carolina. You know, business is stacking up over the holidays. You know, people get depressed, so he's got to dig himself out of that hole, if you will. But really, thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you have a spooky experience you'd like to share? If you saw the top of the show, the different ideas and the list of different spooky sorts of things that I feel fall under the category of being spooky, spooky-worthy. If you feel you have a spooky experience or any of the sorts of things, call the phone number 313-633-1599. Call it anytime, 24 hours a day. We're ready for you to take your phone message. Call 313-633-1599.
I also want to invite you to listen to Spooky Talk, the radio program on WPON 1460 AM Wednesdays at 5 p.m. And you can stream it off their website. Drop by spookytalk.com for more information.
Well, that's all the time we have, folks. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you very much for watching Spooky Talk.